Hello and welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today, where we are looking at the freedom factor. So how franchising can give you your time back. Teaching is a wonderful job, but it's often very inflexible. And this session is really about exploring if franchising or even running your own business is a good way to get your time back and get a better work-life balance. So it's not just a session for people who are looking to buy a franchise. It's really for anyone who's curious about what else is possible, whether joining an established model or starting your own thing like Remish has done. You'll hear about all these kind of lived experiences and lessons that these people have learnt and practical advice to help you take your next step with clarity and confidence. So I'm delighted to be joined here today by two former teachers. So we've got Sammi from Little Voices, and we've got Dani from Kidslingo, and we've got Reshmi, who I mentioned earlier. So she's actually founded her own franchise business. So we'll hear about her journey. Lyndsay is currently a police officer and also working for GoCruise and Travel. And Angela, we've got, who is a sales manager for Travel Counsellors. So she's had huge amounts of conversations with people from all walks of life about franchising. So a really nice, exciting panel. And I will get them to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about their backgrounds. And feel free, if you want to post any questions in the chat, feel free to do that. And I can read them out on your behalf. So let's start with Sammi. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, please?
Yeah, hello, I'm Sammi. I am principal of Little Voices, Nottingham and Loughborough. My background is mainly from teaching. Started sort of teaching in schools when I was at university about 10 years ago now. Then sort of started as a drama teacher, taught music, taught English, taught all sorts of different subjects, and then sort of worked my way in pastoral roles as a head of year, looking at sort of PSHE, leading the role there. And then I worked my way up to assistant principal, and then I did a year, sort of 6 months temporary as vice principal, leading on behaviour. But then, found my way wanting something that just kind of captured the essence of what drama teaching is, and singing, and found myself taking on a Little Voices franchise, which I absolutely love.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. And Dani, can you tell us about your experiences from teaching into running your franchise?
Hello, hi, I'm Dani, Daniela, but I go by Dani. So I have been teaching, was teaching for about 10 years as well. Started off TAing and all different things, then kind of decided to train to teach. My background is languages, so Spanish and French I speak. And so I trained to be a language teacher. I was teaching secondary. I moved around quite a lot, different settings. So grammar, comprehensive, mixed, all girls. And I then worked my way up. I was head of languages for just under 2 years. And I really thought that was what I was going to do forever. I really thought that was it. I was like, great, happy, head of department, thought I would maybe progress SLT. And then I just wasn't treated very well. Was given so much to do, so much beyond my pay grade, and just really kind of just felt so overwhelmed, stressed, off with work-related stress, unfortunately, got classic burnout. And just left mid-year, which is kind of a crazy thing to do before a wedding as well. No job, just was like, but that's how bad it got. So I left, I had my notice in October last year. I then left at Christmas this year, and I started my franchise only in January. So it's still relatively new, but so far so good. I have inquiries kind of coming out of my ears. It's really, really good. Things are really, really busy. You don't realize how many people want their kids to learn languages until you offer language lessons. And it's going really, really well. And teaching, so it's obviously different. It's not so much secondary now, but Kidslingo goes up to 12. But so I'm doing nurseries, primaries. So I've got PPA cover. I've got after school club, lunchtime clubs, and also some private lessons as well. I've just got so much more time. I have flexibility. I have my life back. I can spend time with my husband, and it's just going really, really well so far. So, but it is still early days. So but I am so far really enjoying it. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story about burnout, because it is a very real thing in teaching, isn't it? And huge congratulations for you to getting through that and thinking positively about moving forward and running your own business. That's great. Thank you. Reshmi, so you started off in marketing, so not teaching at all, but you then decided to create your own business and then franchise it. Can you tell us a bit more about that, please?
Yeah, sure. And I'll link to burnout as well, because that's sort of my story, as everyone else probably is. So I worked in marketing full time, and teaching is mostly for school children. So after school hours, which is similar to after working hours, and then weekends as well. So I did both because I actually enjoyed it, and because I wanted the teaching to be on the side, because music teaching is usually that. It's usually in the evenings or just the weekends that you don't usually do it full time. So yeah, so I continued doing that for a few years. And then, yeah, a lot of people in our area were teaching musical instruments. They were trying to grow their teams so that more people could learn, because once your time is taken, you can't fill that with anybody else unless you create group sessions. But a lot of them were kind of struggling because of, the quality control or the communication. It just wasn't working out. And for some reason that made me want to do it. I don't know why, because they weren't having good success. I just thought, let me try, because you can't lose that much from it. Of course, your brand can get damaged, but I guess if you notice it and you have certain things that you can watch out for, then, you can stop that happening and escalating. So I knew a lot of teachers already. A lot of them had been my teachers. So we started working together under our school. And then, yes, COVID happened. So we didn't know what to do, but we tried to do online, and it did actually work. But we had a lot, trial and error of the sound quality has to be really good because it's an instrument. And we also realized a lot of people who were doing music in school, they stopped doing it in COVID times, and they wanted to learn more about it. So we did online workshops for them. And that's when we also started doing group online music workshops, which is kind of the main part of our business, as well as the piano. And then, yes, after that, a lot of other teachers started to recognize we were doing new things. And then I kind of quit my other job as well in marketing. And I thought there's so much demand that I can take it further. So we eventually went through a lot of different teachers, only because a lot of them do just want to perform or just write music or just do literally one day a week. So I don't think we're the right fit for them. We're more, we want to work together as a team and also help people with their kind of materials that they're providing. So we've kind of trialed a lot of the material we're giving them. And yeah, so there's other teachers from around the world that just organically moved to the UK, and some of them were working in schools before, teaching music, but they didn't have the right communication or resources. So that's kind of what we do, and that's what we're franchising as well. And yeah, we have our founding location has 15 tutors and some support staff who create more resources for us so that they're kind of up to date, because it's always changing every single year. And yeah, we do a mixture of group sessions, one-to-one sessions, and mostly we go to students' homes as well when we deliver our lessons. So it's a new thing that didn't exist before, actually, when I started, but a lot of people prefer it because of convenience. And yeah, they just obviously save so much time. They don't have to travel anywhere. And then the online sessions, of course, again, they just need internet connection. And I think a lot of them are more open to it because of lockdown. So again, we kind of got lucky there. But yeah, the delivery of it and making sure we had a lot of positive feedback around the newer services was really challenging, because until you have someone else who's done it, a lot of people aren't going to try a new service they've never heard of. So yeah, that's our story.
Yeah, fantastic, and well done for making that pivot and building a successful business. It's wonderful. Lyndsay, you're in a unique position, aren't you? Because you're probably the only guest that we've got today that is still doing their day job. So could you please tell us a bit more about that, and then how you blend the kind of franchising with your day job, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So our plan is not to leave the day job. And I say ours because it's myself and my husband who have the franchise. So we're kind of tag teaming it. We both have the same day job, and we've got about 6 years service. We have a passion for travel, and our ambition was always to do our 30 years in policing and then retire and travel the world. We just decided to bring that forward a little bit and to be a bit more proactive in being able to do that, and how, you know, we would manage to finance that going forward. So we decided probably about 12 months ago now to take a bit of a leap and try and run both. So we've been in the franchise now since December last year. We are, as you quite rightly say, we are still in our day job. So it is a balancing act. It absolutely is a balancing act. But we've come into this knowing what our 5-year plan is, in terms of where we want to be. And actually, we're trying to build something that's ready for us when we retire from our current careers, and that we can take forward. So the plan will be to travel the world and also have a laptop and book other people's holidays, which is the perfect dream. So yes, we've always worked very peculiar hours, shift work, and we're quite often we've had 3 children, but we quite often wait to each other on the road as one is coming home and the other one is leaving. So it's not uncommon, and we still work shifts now. So it's not uncommon for us to, as I say, tag team it. You know, we share the inquiries, and there's always somebody here because one of us is working shifts. So we're working long hours. There's no getting away from that, but we're in this different position, as you quite rightly say, where we are balancing both, and that's absolutely a decision we've taken. I think if we hadn't have taken that decision, we certainly wasn't going to step away from our chosen careers. But if we had have stepped away from our chosen careers, I think then we would have had. We were having great success. We are having great success. I think we'd have more flexibility to throw ourselves into it more, for sure, because time can be a restraint. But yeah, so for us, it's a challenging period because obviously it's a new franchise opportunity, and we're in our first 12 months. However, we're building a client base, and we've spent an awful lot of time casting our net very wide, because people will not find you. People will not find me and Kieran in what we do unless we put ourselves out there. So we've been really challenging ourselves, and my husband's never been to so many wedding fairs, for instance. I never thought I was get excited about going to wedding fairs, but we've really had to put ourselves out there and go out of our comfort zone. So and I think what's really important, as with all public sector work, is that we have so many transferable skills. We problem solve all day. As I'm sure teachers do, we problem solve all day, and actually we're very innovative, as teachers are, and I think there are so many transferable skills. We just don't see it, because I think, like teaching, you choose policing and it's a career path, and you think that you're on that career path and you can't step off. And I would say, whilst it's a challenge at the moment, obviously because of the hours, I think it's actually enhanced my day job. I think it's definitely enhanced my day job. It's made me happier in my core role, because it's almost a holiday that pays for itself. It's like having a hobby that is, it's making other people happy. And of course, if you can imagine in policing, that's not always the way. So, and I'm sure with teaching, that can be a real challenge too. I've got friends who are teachers. So, it's a challenge. I see that challenge is one that we can manage, absolutely. And we just look forward to building up the business over the coming years, and then that 6 years time when we retire, we'll be good to go, and we'll be hopefully on a cruise ship or a sun lounger somewhere, booking all our clients' holidays. That's the plan.
You paint a beautiful picture. Thank you, Lyndsay. Angela, so you're a little bit different, aren't you? You're coming from a different angle with travel counsellors. So tell us a little bit about your history and how you ended up working as a sales manager for travel counsellors.
Oh, well, so yeah, I'm a bit different, as you say. So weirdly enough, when I left school and college, my plan was to be a teacher, and I love teaching and travel, weirdly, and I've ended up in travel. And yeah, my background started in travel by the airlines. So it was actually my dad's fault, saying instead of going straight to university, have some time out and maybe go and travel. And weirdly, we saw an advert in the paper for an airline. I applied, and before I knew it, I was down in Gatwick, and it kind of went from there. And then 7 years later, I did work for that company on the ground. So I did do sales with them, and then I moved back up to Manchester and kind of almost fell into recruitment, but within travel as well. So weirdly, I recruited for travel across the corporate and the retail sector for quite a number of years. And then after having my first child, I came to Travel Counsellors. That's just over 10 years ago. And my role is lovely here because I work in travel, but what I also do is speak to lots of people on a daily basis, as do our team, around really what they're looking for. And that's the part we love, because I think Lyndsay mentioned it then. Everybody we speak to, especially who looks at our travel academy, which is for those who are new to travel, they've got very transferable skills. And I think lots of people get to a stage in their life where they're thinking, gosh, is this the career I'm going to be in for however long? And I think since the pandemic, the part we don't like to talk about a lot, I think that's changed even more for lots of people, because they've almost thought, gosh, am I going to be doing this for the next 15, 20 years? I'm not happy. And it's almost given people that confidence that actually there are other things I can do. So as a business, we've been going 31 years, so we're very established in franchising, and that's all we've ever done. Our Travel Academy program, which is the program that is new to anybody who is new to travel, has been established now about 15 years, and it's extremely popular. It's actually our busiest induction group now, believe it or not. And weirdly, from Lyndsay as well, we get lots of people that could come from the police force. We've had fire brigade, ex-fire brigade people join, and lots from education. That's probably increased, I would say, in the last couple of years. And similar to what everybody said on here, really, people have got to a point where they're thinking, gosh, what can I do? And more than anything, I think it's the people person that is in there. It's people who enjoy being around people. They're happy to help people. They've got that care element, and that really stands out when anyone's looking to be a franchise owner, because you've always got that care for your customer, and you love the planning, you love the social side of that, whether it's face to face or over the phone. And as I say, that's just grown and grown in our model, and we feel really lucky on our team that we say we change people's lives, and we literally do. We've got so many stories of people that have come on board. They've had an idea, they've talked about that idea, and then years later, I'm very close with a lot of those travel counsellors, and you think, oh my gosh, you're living the life, similar to what Lyndsay said, that they're wanting to do. And that's the best part of our job. But yeah, it's definitely increased, and I think more so across education, because people are looking for flexibility, the work-life balance, making something their own. And for Travel Academy as well, if you're coming from a brand new industry that isn't travel, you kind of have a ready-made customer base that you can go after, because everybody in your previous sector will know about you. And it's a way of saying, actually, I'm stepping out of this now and I'm now setting this up, but let me tell you about it. So it's actually a really good opportunity for your network as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. And I think what links all of you with your sort of stories and your background is that you've kind of followed something that you're passionate about, and that's got to be a bit of a winner, hasn't it, that you've created a job around something that you're genuinely interested in. And I think that gives you an awful amount of freedom, doesn't it? So I would like to ask you guys some questions. So I'm just having a look. Sammi, I would like to ask you, what drew you in particular to franchising rather than just starting it yourself? Like, how did you know franchising was going to be a good fit for you?
Oh, she's on mute.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, on mute. I knew that was going to happen to someone, and it was me. I think because when I was, so I'd kind of ummed and ahed for like a couple of years, I'd always thought about leaving teaching, not knowing what to do. And when I came across the Little Voices franchise, I think the amount of support that's there with a franchise, particularly when, although you've got lots and lots of transferable skills in teaching, like the organisation of things and the like communicating with, talking with parents, and which is the bit I absolutely love. Like I love talking to parents. I love finding out about their child. I love finding out kind of whether their child's done singing or drama before. And I love kind of trying to help them in terms of helping their child build confidence. But for me, it was like, well, I can do all those things, but I absolutely know nothing about business. Like I wouldn't even know where to start with the self-employed thing, in terms of like the legalities around taxes, legalities around marketing. And it was kind of the support that was available, not only around the training, but sort of literally there's like 32 of us that are like-minded people that all really share the same passion, which is transforming lives, with sort of drama, singing, building children's confidence. And it was just nice to have like-minded people. And I think that obviously in teaching, everybody, you know, is doing it for the children. Like I've never come across anybody in teaching that's not there doing it for the right reasons. But when you've got so many people that have left teaching and they're like behind you 100% and they're saying it's going to grow, like you've got this, like all the skills that you've got in teaching, like you'll be able to take forward. I think that is quite a big thing, because it's quite a big leap, like obviously financially, the security of like always getting paid, the security of sick pay, the security, you know, lots of securities. And it's a big leap to take just fully out of teaching to start something. So I think it's the support that comes with a franchise, and that sort of established brand that kind of really made me think, actually, this means that I can kind of maybe grow a bit quicker than I would if I was doing it on my own, which for me was really important, because I wanted to be at the stage where, you know, I was looking at having a family like soon, and didn't want to take like another 5 years trying to build something. Maybe that it would take longer. But yeah, definitely support. Like, I mean, from Little Voice, the support is just second to none. But it's just having everybody there that's kind of been through exactly what you've been through, and you can kind of speak to them. I think that was like the main thing. And through the process, I got to speak to some franchisees before I like took on board the franchise. But yeah, just having other people that just get it, that have left teaching and just get it, is like really, really good.
And there's a sort of sense of freedom in that as well, isn't there? That, you know, that sort of weight of responsibility is not on your shoulders, because there's a team behind you that are managing it all. So yeah, that's really nice to hear. Thank you. Lyndsay, so I'd like to know, like you said, it's, you know, it's hard at the moment, you know, 1 foot in the door with one and 1 foot in the door with something else, but you're obviously really driven about doing this. How have you managed to get like a little bit of freedom back, do you think, from like, rather than just full-time police work?
I think it's given us the headspace that public sector work can take up. I think when you leave work and you work in public sector front-facing roles, it can be all-consuming. You can think that there's not an awful lot else out there, and you come home and you think about it, and you know, it's all-consuming. I think this has felt incredibly liberating. It's felt incredibly liberating that we're not we're not just tied to policing. As I say, I do think it's complemented it, and I think, in terms of gaining time and freedom, you know, there's no two ways about it. The opportunities that come from being within the travel industry exist, and they are available to us, and which is a fabulous thing. And actually being able to take advantage of some of those, whether that's a trip or an experience, means that we're doing our continual professional development, but we're also absolutely thoroughly enjoying it and getting something new for us as well. So, for instance, we're going to the Galapagos in February next year, probably something we would never have done previously. So in terms of getting some freedom back, I think there's a freedom of time at the moment for us is limited. As I say, we're in a unique situation because we're still doing our full-time day jobs. But I think there's freedom, and there's getting some time back. Certainly, mentally, I think we feel that it's complemented our day job. We're able to think about both opportunities, and they're able to enhance each other. I think that we're under those trips and those opportunities and experiences are a fabulous way, and we can share that with our friends and family as well, which is great. It's a lovely thing to do.
Brilliant. No, that's wonderful to hear. And Dani, can you tell us a bit about, like, how's your life different now running a franchise than it was at school?
So different. So I think so if I look back to myself this time last year, or even in I don't know, November, December 24, I just had no time for anything. I actually was working the hardest I've ever worked in my 10-year career, and I was leaving the house about 6:45 and sometimes getting back at about 7:30. And my partner, now husband, works from home, and it was causing, I wouldn't say problems, but it was just, I wasn't seeing him really. And we were supposed to be planning our wedding. It was supposed to be a really happy time. And it was more like, let's plan the wedding when I see you at the weekend. And then it would be like, oh no, I've got marking to do. No, I've got planning to do. And he kind of lost me for a little bit. And I think actually, if I hadn't have been getting married in May of this year, I think I was saying to myself, I was very unhappy, but I think I probably would have stuck it out until this July, I think. Just because leaving mid-year is not great when I had 2 year 11 classes and then they didn't replace me, supply after supply after supply, but then I had to really put myself first. Yeah. And I think that was a really big, because as you were saying, Sammi, you go into teaching for the children and you don't go into it for yourself. But it'd been 10 years of putting the children before myself. And I just was like, no, I get married once, hopefully. And I just, the timing was just wrong. And I just really was like, this is not how it's supposed to be. And it was taking a toll on every aspect of my life. And I think that actually I got so desperate one day that I went onto like a Facebook group and I was just searching stuff. And then I found that there were about 150,000 people in a Facebook group. I won't say the name of it, but it's just basically everyone in the same situation. And it was just crazy. And it was, and then people were like posting on there, giving each other help, advice, suggestions. And that's actually where I first found out about Kidslingo, because I put my situation down. I said anonymously, and someone said, try this, because I knew that I loved languages. I knew that I loved teaching, but I didn't like the baggage and everything that came with it. Whereas some of my friends had left teaching and gone into completely other careers. I couldn't see myself particularly doing that because I actually love my job rather than the bureaucracy and all the horrible stuff that comes with it. So I was like, well, if I can still do something that I really love, obviously, I've taken a pay cut and I'm still establishing myself and I've eaten into my savings, but it is still early days. And I think if you bear in mind that that's possibly going to be the situation for a bit, but that's temporary, for you to then build up your business, and it takes a while. It's not something that happens overnight. I just thought, you know what, why not? I was just desperate, really desperate to find a solution to kind of get my life back. And I wanted to come into 2025 being happy. and I don't regret it at all. It's the best decision I've ever made. It's been quite the year setting up my own business and getting married, and just it's been amazing. Hard, like not easy, don't get me wrong, but my life is so different. I have freedom, and for example, I've just got back from LA last night because one of my friends is cabin crew and took me on a spontaneous trip as her companion this week. And my school didn't break up until yesterday, I think. So I wouldn't have ever been able to do that as a teacher. So I have more flexibility. So we went on Monday, came back last night. And then this morning I was teaching an interesting lesson. I think it was okay, who knows? And now I'm doing this. And I'm here over the summer, but I've got lessons still running throughout the summer. Obviously not getting paid over the summer is going to be a bit difficult for the first time. But again, I can't compare how my life has changed for the better since leaving teaching at Christmas, and being in control of everything, because I think I was being so controlled at the time. I've gone from one extreme to the other, of like being really micromanaged by the senior team. I was in quite a toxic school, so it's not all like this. To then actually managing my life myself is just so liberating, as I think Lyndsay said. And yeah, I'm so happy. People are like noticing a change in me, and it's just, yeah, it's amazing.
A really good story about flexibility there. I like that. Can I ask you now, Dani, like what are your typical working hours now? just to see what the
okay, so it does vary.
Yeah.
And although I do franchise, obviously because I'm self-employed, I can do what I want in terms of work, and I just need to make sure I do the taxes correctly. But I have been taking on extra tuition as well, and that over the GCSE period, that was just insane. The demand was crazy. So I don't know, let's say, so like, depends, but mostly things after school. So like, say Monday I have after school stuff. So I'd say on average, I'm working probably about 2 to 3 hours a day, which, yeah, I mean, that's great. But obviously but then I kind of calculated it, and it's like per hour, I am earning more than I would have done a day teaching. So it's like, I don't want to go on about it to my teacher friends, but I'm like, even if I'm just working 2 hours, or even this morning, like what I made is roughly what I would have made in a day teaching. So even though I'm working less, I'm still earning, I think it's okay. It's good money, but it's just that, you don't have the security, as you were saying, Sammi. But yeah, on average, I'm working about 2 to 3 hours a day, I would say, which obviously is great. But I have got more coming in as of September. So something I do now need to do is look at my work schedule, because I get inquiries all the time. So even when I was away for a couple of days this week, I've come back to 3-4 inquiries. I had someone this morning call me, and I answered the phone, which I shouldn't have done because I had no idea what time or day it was. And I was like, I'm so sorry, can I call you back later? Because you don't want to, you don't want to miss work. You need to take all the work, but at the same time, I shouldn't have answered the phone. But anyway, it just, yeah. So I'd say on average 2 to 3 hours, but I'm earning probably the same as I would have done a day's teaching. And I'm hoping to obviously up that. Definitely, because I'm capable of working a full day. but it's literally gone from 12, 13 hour days to 2, 3 hour days. Yes. And I can go to the gym. I can go food shopping. I can spend time with my husband. I can actually be home to feed the cats. It's changed my life completely. I can't, but I should be working more, and I will be working more. It's
absolutely still early days.
It's still only 7 months in, so but no, I'm not stretched. I'm not stressed. I'm here on a Friday afternoon, so.
It'd definitely really hard to go in and teach on a Friday morning with jet lag, wouldn't it? In a normal school. So yeah, you've done well. Thank you. Reshmi, so thinking about this kind of freedom factor, obviously you've moved to a kind of franchising model. What do you think is the sort of value of franchising compared to like you do, working for yourself and building a business for yourself? Talk us through both of those, and so we can sort of feel a bit more about the freedom and the flexibility that you get through those different roles.
Yeah, sure. I think because music is quite content heavy, I think you can start doing it solo and potentially hire a small team, but I think there's quite a limit because of just how fast paced it's changing. So on top of it being content heavy, it's also changing. So it's just significantly slower, I'd say, by a couple of years, just because it's so hard to keep up with that alongside, if you do have a team, making sure that they're supported. But to do that, you also have to keep up with everything alongside inquiries, alongside your general marketing. So to do all of that on your own can be quite tricky. So the difference between that and I guess our franchise is we've already tested things and we're continuously doing it for you, because we're doing it in kind of our founding base of a school with real students. So when we're giving it to you, it's already been tested. So, 9 times out of 10, it's going to work or have some sort of positive effect on the students that they're teaching. And then also, I think there's this whole strategy around when you hire teachers and what to look out for, when you're interviewing them, and if they do want to be there, for a short period of time, long period of time, and the ones that are just completely, they're just there for money. They're not there for, the actual nurturing the children, building their confidence, helping you build the music community. Just noticing those red flags is actually really difficult on your own. I definitely was not good at that at the beginning, which is why I knew that those were the struggles, not just for myself, but those other teachers I mentioned in the past in our local area that were struggling to hire their teams. I realized it's like an industry problem. So with our franchise, we've over the years built kind of the do's and don'ts of when you're hiring, or how to kind of help someone if they're struggling as well, because otherwise they won't stay with you long and you have to replace all of their students with another teacher, and the logistics around that's quite tricky, and it could make or break your small business or big business, I think, because if you leave students hanging, they're just going to go to your competitor or someone else, right? They're not going to stay with you if you don't solve it quick enough. So at the moment, we're kind of on a journey of using different platforms and just really simple tools that make sure certain things are automated, or certain parts of admin is like chased. So it could be like a payment, could be a reminder for a lesson, things that you don't really need to do, but it's set up so that, you always have your kind of terms and conditions all there ready, so that if someone is unhappy, you can say, this got sent to you, and you can track if it's sent or not sent. And we're trying to use that at the moment. It's just going really well, because it's just admin you don't need to do, because you could be doing something better. Like a teacher could be preparing their lessons, or someone who's doing the inquiries could just be focusing on what the FAQs are from those. And then we kind of create blogs around those, which obviously franchisees can learn from, but also new parents that want to learn more about the school, they can use that and come back to it again and again. So the difference is probably just the time that we're giving them back. And also, I guess the franchisees would earn from, they're allowed to do a bit of teaching themselves, the piano teaching, or the music workshops, but also they could run the school and just manage the team of teachers, or they can have like a hybrid, which is both, which of course automatically brings them a lot more, because they get a commission from the lessons that the teachers are running.
It sounds like a really nice model then. So you can sort of you don't need to have a background in music or be a music specialist either, do you? You can take the management role and pass that on to other teachers.
I guess that's something I didn't really know either myself until I learned more about franchising before we started, which is one of the reasons I didn't want to do it. Because there are a few people in music that are interested, but I thought as a management role, does everyone know about the franchise that they're buying into? And so, some of them don't. Some of them are just trained by the franchisor and their team, which is really interesting, because some of them are actually really successful. And if you look at the background, there's nothing there about that industry. But I understand now, obviously, we had to build our own training model, which is the hardest thing you'll ever do, because so many things you do automatically. You have to write down on paper, and so that someone else understands it who's never seen you before. It's very hard to do, even though you do it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think through teaching, if you get someone else's lesson plan, sometimes your heart sinks a bit. But if it's a really good lesson plan, you can just be like, yes, just flying on air through that lesson. But so it's good that you've put all of those things in place for your teachers. Wonderful. Angela, your model's a bit different with travel counsellors, because it's a full-time commitment, isn't it? So what I'd like to know is, what are the extra benefits that you get? Because obviously with teaching, you're really restricted on when you can take your holidays and things. So I'd like to know a little bit more about how your franchisees find freedom from running a full-time business.
So yeah, you're completely right. Ours is slightly different to what Lyndsay's talked about. That we kind of, and it's going around the houses currently, so this could change in the future. But we've always gone down the route of needing the commitment really from day one from anyone joining us, and there's kind of two reasons for that really. In the past, we may have had people that have done it alongside something else, and for a number of people it hasn't worked for whatever reason. So from a business perspective, they've always been very much on the case of we'd prefer to people to come when they're ready to come, fully being able to commit to everything. So even though we say fully commit, it's still very flexible. So for example, we don't ask people to work certain times. No one's stipulating when you are online, when you're not offline, anything like that. But I think the main difference being, and I think Sammi touched on this, from a franchising perspective, we offer lots of support from day one, in particular for our Travel Academy program, because lots of people can join that program, could be well traveled, but as Sammi said, they don't know much about setting a franchise up, the business part of things, how to market themselves on social media, etc. So our training plan for our Travel Academy is really thorough. So anyone who joins it, they follow a 6-month induction program. So they're not training that whole time. The first 10 days of it is a very intense training that is held through our training team, and a lot of it is digitally led. However, there are lots of group interactions as well that everybody does as a team. But then following on from that, there's a lot of ongoing training that they do alongside building the business up. So that in itself does take quite a bit of commitment. But from a flexibility point of view, we're very honest in saying to people, even though we are asking for a full-time commitment, it is around you and your home life. So people still, like you say, are not working a 12, 13-hour day. They could be working the hours the children are at school. Then they may pick up a call in the evening if a customer does reach out. So they are very much still managing their time. So I think people do appreciate it from that point, that yes, even though we're asking from a full-time commitment initially, it is very different to what they are currently working. And with that as well, it's so that they can get really engrossed in our community, because we have lots of events with what we do, lots of face-to-face opportunities, lots of things that people can get involved in. And we feel that really benefits people, especially early on, because they get to go to supplier events, for example, fam trips, lots of different opportunities where they can really get involved in the community and find out much more about the travel industry. So yeah, we highly promote that. But I think from the people that have joined from an education background, they've loved the fact that, gosh, their day is very different, their demand is very different. As Dani said, they're not having to think about, oh gosh, I've got to ask for that time to do something, because they can make that decision themselves. So as long as they're staying on top of the training, they're doing everything that they should be doing, the business is very much, work the hours that best suit you. So I think, again, that's probably the biggest part of why people do look to do it, that they want to still work full time in many cases, but the hours around their home life and what they actually want to do. And as I say, I think for many industry sectors that's different, and that's where franchising comes in. But with the support that we offer as well, that is 24-hour. So for anyone that does join and they have customers that are traveling, the great thing is we're not saying, oh gosh, if something happens in the middle of the night and you're in bed, they are going to ring you and you've got to resolve that. We have teams at our support centre that look after all our travel counsellors customers. So it's a fantastic model in that way, that yes, even though this is your business, you're very well looked after, not only from a training perspective, but right the way through. And that does really appeal to people. So I think that's why it makes it so popular.
Lovely, thank you. And I'd like to open this up to anyone, so feel free to give your own point of view on this one. I just wondered what sort of misconceptions that you potentially had about franchising, and then you found that they were kind of untrue. So maybe anecdotally, or is there anything in particular you think that other people think about franchising, and actually that not to be true with your business? So anyone can answer.
I think there's like a little bit of a misconception around like who your boss is, if that makes sense. Like they're not your boss. Like certainly my franchise, like they're not your boss. Like yes, there's a system and there's like proven method and like a tried and tested system, but you know your area, you know your children. Like mine is performing arts classes for children. So like I know my area, I know like my parents, I know the children. So I know what's kind of, obviously I take advice and listen to all the training. Obviously I was like nodding and smiling away at Dani's earlier, because I'm like on the same kind of timeline as you, Dani, like literally starting out this year. But it's not like, I always have to kind of think in my head, oh yeah, I can just go and go to that physio appointment. Or I remember I think a friend asked me if they were in town, do you want to go for a coffee? And I was like, oh, but I should be doing this. Oh yeah, I'll just do it later on. Like I don't need to like ask anyone's permission to do what it is that I want to do on that day. Like as long as I've got things in my head that I want to get done, like that week, as long as I get them done on my own time scale, like I can just do that. And yeah, just not having your own boss. I think people think that, I know every franchise is like slightly different, but I think people think that it's like a robotic system where every single thing has to be the same. But actually, although there's obviously certain things and values that don't change from sort of franchise to franchise, there's, you know, little tweaks that you'll make that suit your area and you. So that's like the biggest freedom, I think, is being able to, obviously, especially coming from an education background, like the freedom in education is really, in my opinion, gone. And there's so many different things that you have to follow, you know, systems that don't sort of align with maybe what your ethos and values are. So you can kind of really think about what your ethos and values are and, you know, what works for you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else want to add any misconceptions?
Yeah, well, I completely agree with you, Sammi. It's like it's just, yeah, I don't have a boss. I'm my boss. and completely, you know, and the support and everything. And obviously coming from a teaching background, and I have always made my resources from scratch. So I remember when I had training, and then the CEO of Kidslingo was like, the resources are all there, and I just couldn't believe it. I had to say, I'm sorry, like what? Like as in, you know, I don't, but the thing is, I still do put my own stamp on things, you know, because that is part of it and part of the lesson planning. But, you know, when I used to say I have to plan my lessons, it could sometimes take me like hours, and, you know, especially at the start. And then now it's like, oh, everything is kind of there, and it's just about me making my mark. And yeah, and just, it's just so, and the resources are great. So good, and it's tried and tested, and it's like I've also become a really big like Kidslingo ambassador, and just like as in really, and I just think they're so, it's just, yeah, the resources and materials and everything are just so great. And people, because the lessons that do go from zero, I get loads of inquiries for people that want their kids to learn languages from like 10 months, and I haven't yet actually taught babies. I'm dying to do it because it's just, I'm fascinated by it. There are resources for babies. It's all like sensory stuff. And yeah, the CEO is very like, yeah, we, you know, it happens, we can do it. And even I'm a bit like, really? But it must work. It must work. But the youngest I have is, I've had toddlers, preschool and nursery, and they remember it, and they're singing the songs back to me, and it's like, it's crazy. It's really, it's somehow more rewarding in a way than secondary. It's like different, but it's like getting a 2-year-old to sing back to you in another language is mind-blowing, really. It's like, yeah. But yeah, not having a boss, definitely. And also people are like, you're so brave. And I'm like, I think it's kind of brave, but at the same time, a lot of it is kind of there for me. And I wouldn't have gone out completely just on my own. You know, yes, I have my own business technically, but like Sammi was saying, the support network of the franchise is just next to none. And it's just, so I don't feel alone. There's a big network of us and we're all in the same position. And that's really, really nice. So while I'm not an employee technically of anybody, I do still kind of feel like a part of a team, definitely.
Yeah, sounds like a blended approach. Nice. Thank you. Anyone else want to add to that as well about misconceptions they had about franchising?
I was just going to say that I think I thought it'd be really rigid, and it's just expanding on what Sammy and Dani have said. I thought it'd be really rigid, but I think if you find the right franchise, you do your due diligence in terms of making sure you understand them, and you find your right fit. Because we didn't go to the first franchisor that we found. We took the time, and it turned out it was the franchisor manager that is the person that we took that investment in. And I would just say that you're not a clone just because you're a franchisee. You have the freedom to develop your own business, but with that safety net, that big safety net of that experience of your colleagues who are the other franchisees or the franchisor team, and in our case the wider team over at Fred Olsen. It enables you to draw upon that. Like Dani, we absolutely feel part of the team, but we also feel the freedom to do what we need to do for our business to make it grow. Which and like Dani, we wouldn't have gone out on our own. We wouldn't have done this on our own. So for me, it's about the right balance. It's the right balance. Yes, you are joining something that is established, but it's the positives out of that established, business that you are utilising, and you still have that freedom to do what is right for you and build your own business.
Brilliant, thank you. And Reshmi, what do you think for you is the biggest sort of like experience of freedom that you've had from running your own business? Everything, like maybe just give us a little hint of something that you're really proud of with your business.
I feel quite lucky because I have a lot of teachers who they have so many different experiences that they've had in music education as well as performing. So they're almost giving me an insight I wouldn't have unless I actively go out and meet those people, but they just organically just shared with me very openly. So I feel like I am in the right place where a lot of them have told me they openly don't like business in terms of running a business or marketing, but they do love teaching. So I feel like we kind of help each other in that sense, because obviously my background's marketing and I really enjoy business as well as teaching. I actually still do a little bit of teaching. So it's almost like we come together, and without that knowledge, I don't think I would have learned as quickly about the industry as I have, and been able to help them, because they're very open to giving me feedback, positive, constructive criticism, everything. So I feel like they've helped me understand what is needed, and then I can just go out and find that kind of solution. It's not as easy as that. Obviously, I have to try lots of different things before it works, but I think it's given me back a lot of time, because of course most of our lessons are for children which is after school, but also in the holidays we have different kind of camps and activity workshops that we can run now. And I didn't know that was something we could do, because like a lot of you said, it's very brave to start your own business, or some people think you're crazy, even though it's just the actual initial phase of building it up and the foundations. And after that, I think they'd be very shocked that if you're involved in the community and you're on Facebook groups, and even some of them have their own Facebook groups now, some of our local educators here, and some of them are building their business just on that alone, without any paid advertising. So I think that's given us back so much more time, because there was the first few years of running our business, we only did online Facebook groups, we did Instagram and a little bit of LinkedIn. We didn't leave to go to any event initially, and lots of inquiries are coming through that. And then you just get those kind of people to write you reviews. And yeah, just I think it also helps that we tried to get a lot of what the teachers were telling us that was wrong with the industry. We asked people when they're writing their reviews, do you feel like we've helped you with this? If so, please can you write a review on that topic? So you're not telling them what to write, but you're telling them, this is the problem that a lot of people like you are having, and maybe some of your friends. Can you write about it? And then all of a sudden, when people start searching for that problem, then you come up like that as well. So it's given us a lot of time and probably a different side of the industry, because I was a performer before. So I thought I would go into performing, not teaching. But yeah, I don't know. I've met other passionate teachers who were doing well, and the only thing they were missing, I kind of had. So we just came together really, and we have a 3C philosophy we made together actually. Now we're using it in our franchise, which is to build confidence, communication, and to build a community. So that's what we want for not just the students, but also the teachers and the families that we're impacting. Because yeah, then I think that's kind of something they'll leave with. So a lot of people who join our activities, performing arts, music, languages, everything, I hear a lot of them say when they're leaving, am I wasting my time by doing this for many years? But then you look back, you want them to look back and have all those different skills that they're going to actually use for the rest of their life, right?
Yeah, strong foundation, isn't it? A very strong foundation. Wonderful, thank you. And Angela, I'd like to know from you, with your sales hat on, what are the top tips you can give for people who are considering a franchise? What can you suggest to them that would be like the first steps that they need to do to really kind of think about this deeply?
Well, I think it got mentioned a couple of times already, but I think more than anything, initially do your research, look around and shop around. Lyndsay mentioned that. I mean, anybody that we're speaking to at any stage of their journey with us, it's always about timing. But we very openly say to people very early on, please do shop around and do your comparisons, because Lyndsay's right. Everybody looks for different things in a franchise, and that's different to everybody, whether people want the support, whether people it could be the cost, it could be anything. But I think definitely do your research. We always say to speak to the people doing it already. So anybody that any of the team speak to, we'll always put them in touch with any travel counsellors from a similar background, because again, they started that journey. They will be very honest, what's been good, what's been bad, what hasn't worked, because franchising is hard work. Even though it's got lots of pros, it's also very hard work, and obviously hearing from everyone today knows that. But it's very much about what you put into that for the results that you'll see. And again, everyone's different with that, because as Lyndsay's doing that on a gradual scale, and lots of people like to do it like that, whereas some people think, actually, I want to come in and hit the ground running. So again, that will differ dependent on who you're looking at. So definitely do the research, definitely speak to people who are already doing it through that model. Go to any events that you can. Again, we do lots of webinars as a business. We do face-to-face events at our office, and they're really informal. It's come in, have a feel for what everything is, have a look at the systems, find out more about the training, and more than anything, take your time with it. Again, we always say to people, this isn't about us saying, come in and let's get you started. We've had people in the mix to join. I think our record is 12 years, believe it or not, where we've had regular contact with that person. That person could have gone off and had children. Their circumstances could have changed, but we've kept in touch, and the trust is there really. And when the time is right, and if it is right that they come to us, they'll pick the phone up, and that's where the process starts. So I think the timing is really key, because again, everyone on this call will know that. But if you're going into a franchise, and it's nice to be quite financially stable as well, because although you can get your business moving quite quickly, it doesn't all come overnight. So the finances are really key with that as well. And I think more than anything, and Dani said this earlier as well, which was quite key, and even with what Lyndsay's doing, get your partner or your family to really understand what you're doing as well, because they're a huge support to you, especially in the early days, because it's a huge change from what you may have been doing for the past 20 years. But get them to really understand what you're doing as well. And again, we have events that their partners may come along to it as well. They get really involved with it, and they're generally the ones that ask the questions that sometimes that person isn't thinking about. But getting them to get on board with that as well, because I think in the beginning that really supports you as well, knowing that you've made the right decision, and they'll understand the highs and the lows with that very early on as well. So the research is the big one. The timing is definitely key, and being able to speak to people who've previously done that, and not being afraid to reach out, because you know, people are very honest in that. And more than anything, have your own plan of your journey, because again, everybody wants to become a franchise owner for different reasons, whether it is work-life balance, whether it is finances, whatever that may be, but have your own plan in mind as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. And I think, you know, it's really interesting hearing all of your stories, like different in some ways, but the passion that comes through from each of you in your different areas is key to it, isn't it? And I think all of you have spoken about the idea about being more flexible, having a better headspace, whether that's one foot in the door of your profession and one foot in the door of running a franchise. Having that support gives you that freedom as well, and that flexibility, and being able to go on holiday when you feel like it, Dani, at the drop of a hat. So thank you all so much. Has anyone got anything to add about to this idea about how franchising can give you freedom? Anyone want to add one last bit to this before we wrap up?
I was just going to say, if anybody can get to the National Franchise Show at Birmingham, it's an absolute mind opener. It's a fabulous space. It costs very little to go there. I think it's mainly at the weekends, so hopefully, you know, colleagues in teaching profession can get there. But you'll see lots and lots of different franchisees in the same industries, so you can do some comparison on the day when you've done your due diligence and you've gone there and done your research and you decide. And that's what we did. I did panic at one point we would leave with a coffee wagon, but we didn't, which was good. But yeah, the franchise show, I think it's twice a year, is fabulous.
Wonderful. Good tip. Thank you. Anyone else? No? Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and sharing your very unique journeys. It's been absolutely wonderful to have you on and learn a lot more about franchising and what it means to you as individuals as well. So thank you so much for your time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.